to the CEO of SEO, John Nosal.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, Stephanie, for giving me the opportunity to speak today. You know, the world of the internet and everything is just getting really exciting. You know, think about where it's come in the last 5 years. I mean, you know, think about Tony and WordPress. I mean, how far has WordPress come in the last 5 years? I mean, 5 years ago, it was barely a blogging platform that you were stuck to having posts, and that was about it. And, you know, we won't even talk about how far, you know, Flash kind of died off about 5 years ago as being the platform to build cool websites on. So all in you know, kind of thinking about all these changes that are going on, I thought I would spend some time this evening talking about the internet marketing side of things. You know, really getting into, you know, what's changed with internet marketing. Think about how we're changing the way that we're doing marketing. You know, companies are no longer having these giant teams, unless maybe you're Apple or Dell or IBM or some of these guys, having these massive teams out here to build all this crazy marketing campaigns. You know, I can pick on Robin Moss a little bit. Back in her days when she was doing marketing for a big technology company, you know, they had these massive teams of people trying to come up with the next big brainchild of how we were going to be doing our marketing. Well, along comes the opportunity for the internet with us building websites. You know, whether we're using, you know, Adobe Dreamweaver or Business Catalyst or WordPress, Joomla, or we're still being the brave individuals of hacking out the HTML code ourselves. You know, there's a lot going on with that. So we're going to really get in tonight and, you know, not talk about the movie specifically. It really helps if you turn this thing on. We're not going to talk about the movie specifically, the good and the bad. And the, how many remember this movie back in, what was it, the 70s? Early 80s, somewhere back in there? You know, one of those great movies that everybody remembers now. But we're not going to be talking about this, but we're going to be talking about what's really going on with the internet. And by all means, I've put the hashtag up here. It works great for both Facebook and Twitter. So I do not mind looking at the tops of your head while you're sitting there on your phones, you know, tweeting things like that, tweeting all those great tips and tricks that I'm talking about tonight. So, 100+ years ago, this is what we were seeing whenever we were talking about marketing. You know, we had the Sears and Roebuck catalog. Everything was black and white. We had, you know, toy wagons for the kids. We had, you know, turn of the century, 1900s turn of the century, vintage dresses, and all of this stuff was the type of thing that we were going to. We didn't have the internet yet. Radio wasn't out. TV definitely wasn't out. Doing printing and all of that stuff was still the big technology rage at the time because people were printing large Sears and Roebuck catalogs. You know, we didn't have the Walmarts that we could run down to buy anything and everything. People were literally having to order stuff. So marketing was a little bit different at that point in time because we kind of just went to the catalog and we flipped through it. And I won't mention what we used to do with the catalog, or not me personally, but what we used to do with the catalogs when we got finished with them. So marketing's changed a little bit. Then we got into the times to where companies like Coca-Cola really started getting out there and branding and really starting to change up the way that we started thinking about products and services. I love the image that's in the bottom right-hand corner. That's some real early social media marketing. You know, it's getting the customers to engage. You know, bring this card in and you get a free glass of Coke. I mean, that was some really great early social media type marketing. Then as we started progressing, we started getting to the age when families were spending several hours an evening, thanks Steve, around the TV. And TV and radio and things like that started really getting in to be a new platform that people were starting to target with the marketing message. And where has it gone from there? You know, we started getting into the 70s and we started having brand recognition. How many remember this top left image here? What's the brand? Company? Oscar Mayer. There you go. Every time I look at that image, I start singing the Oscar Mayer song in my head. And, you know, TV dinners. You know, this was something that we didn't have before TVs were out, right? I don't think Swanson's wasn't coming out with radio dinners. The Wall Street Journal, or no, the New York Times, or no, one of the newspapers. They weren't having newspaper dinners or anything like that. People were cooking at home, and modern technology hadn't started getting involved with the way that companies and businesses started looking at things. And definitely look at the bottom right image. Look at the product that's being sold there for $899. For you younger individuals in the audience, AJ's daughter, that's old school DVD player. So things have really changed in the way that we're doing things. And then 1984, how many actually remember seeing that commercial during the Super Bowl? A couple of us did. And it only ran once, exactly. I think this is really a pivotal time when marketing really started changing. Simply because, that whole ad really kind of made fun of all of the way that everything else was going at the time. And it really started making us think about what, from the marketing standpoint, that people can do. It started really getting them to think outside of the box in a way. And then we started getting into how Apple really started looking at some of the things that they were starting to do. They started repackaging and making computers cool. Before that, a desktop was this, plain black box that was down here on your floor with this plain black box of a monitor, and we started coming into the coolness of that. Or even remember the whole marketing campaign that Apple did with all of the I'm a Mac, I'm a PC guy. Those are absolutely great commercials and made, people start looking forward to the next one in the series that people were coming out with. It started getting us more engaged with the marketing and not just being a consumer of the marketing. It started making us look forward to some of that. And then I know that I personally remember this day with great fondness because, I remember in January at the developers conference that they announced that they were coming out with the new iPhone. And, I was one of those crazy people that was standing in line all of that nice warm July day waiting to get my iPhone. I had that, $700 or $800 burning a hole in my pocket because this was the coolest new technology that was out there. And at that particular announcement, that launch of that product completely changed our thinking with marketing. Think about the fact that before then, we weren't having to do responsive designs for our websites. Social media was happening while you were sitting at home or in your office in front of the computer. To be able to have the internet in your pocket really changed the way that marketing started thinking and targeting people. And then, of course, we got up to the time when Android and Microsoft attempted to get into the market, and we can now, we go down to Best Buy and there's 100 phones out here that are all these monster screens and all of this fun stuff, and it's really changed the way that we're consuming information. It's changed the way that we're really starting to look at, as marketers, how we can market to the consumer. We can actually start doing some really interesting things like that. And then, of course, the next revolution. We got into the iPhone got a big brother. The iPads started coming out. There's a bunch of them in the room I've seen tonight. Think about how the iPads changed the way that we're doing marketing and advertising. How about this? Netflix. As soon as I discovered Netflix, I got rid of my cable company. I no longer have cable coming into my house except for the internet side of things, and that's still copper-based. But I want to watch movies on my schedule, not when CBS, NBC, ABC tells me that I'm going to see this movie. I can now consume that information, and of course it's bringing up a whole new area of interest in regards to the marketing side of things. So the iPad's really added a whole new level of it. Think about how many hours a lot of us spend on YouTube. How does YouTube start out a lot of their video content now? We've got that 30-second commercial. That 13, you got to get through the first 10 seconds of it before you can hit the skip button. We can all look at our iPad screens and there's a big smudge right there where the skip button is, right? So there's this whole new level of marketing and advertising that people are starting to look at and be able to really provide a new media for us to be able to communicate through. And then I'll think about how we're sitting around. AJ, he's put numerous posts up on Facebook, of his kids sitting around with the iPad. Think about, AJ's kids, they aren't going to have any concept of what a desktop computer is by the time they get up into high school. It's going to be a totally foreign language to them. What do you mean, Dad? I love this. One time I was at Half Price Books with my son. This was when he was like 6 or 7, about 10 years ago. And we're walking through, perusing all the books, looking at all the great stuff that Half Price Books. And we came to the 45 record rack. And he picks up one and went, Dad, what kind of CDs are these? And it's funny because he has no concept of the vinyl days. But what's really interesting is how vinyl's starting to make a little bit of a resurgence with the teenager, the older teenagers, because they're wanting to kind of hang on to some of that nostalgia. So again, how has all of this changed? The way that we're consuming information and all of that is really getting into change. And it's making it a really big challenge for marketers, business owners, people like that are out there communicating what their brand and their message is. And then, of course, we've got social media that got into this. Social media really started getting into the mainstream. I remember back in 2005, 2006 timeframe that social media was just starting to be kind of this buzz and this fatty thing. People weren't really sure what to think of it. Kathy back here can remember when we were at a networking event for marketers. And several people in that group were going like, oh, are you going to talk about Twitter again? And I'm going like, yes, because it's the next revolution in how we're doing marketing. And it was really funny because one of the ladies that was in that group with us, literally I started talking, well, we can do this in social media and this, and I'm talking with all these marketing people, and she literally got up and left. She said, if you're going to talk about social media, I'm leaving. Well, I loved it. About 14 months later, she sent me an email and said, John, I drank the Kool-Aid. And now she's out there, she got it. Her light bulb came on for how social media can be used as this new platform for us. So social media got out there, and we can see how it's changing and evolving. We've got Twitter, Facebook, anybody remember MySpace? No. MySpace was an early, adopter into this, trying to find its little, its niche in the world. And of course, Google Plus is still trying to find its niche. And it's kind of in that tech side of things. We've got Pinterest and all of the different platforms that are out there that are now these great platforms that people are starting to market themselves on. By the way, if you haven't seen the notice, Cynthia's got a great Pinterest seminar coming up. Yay. Ask her about that after the event this evening. And so she's got an online conference coming up about Pinterest and using that to market your business with. So there's lots of great opportunities through social media. So how does this really work? Forgot this one. This is another great one. Think about how the internet's growth on bandwidth. Imagine trying to use YouTube on dial-up. Ain't going to happen. There's several of us in the room that are just, having that full body shake of, oh. I remember when it would take 10 minutes just to download a meg. Now we can download 10 gigabytes in 10 minutes or something crazy like that. But, the internet got to a point to where we can start really getting into YouTube. Think about how Old Spice really, really leveraged YouTube as its marketing platform. Mustafa was out here creating a new, 30-second video, 2 or 3 times a week or something like that? Just creating all of this crazy content to get people to start thinking about Old Spice. I'm like, come on, this is the stuff that my great-grandfather was probably wearing as he was traveling across the United States in a covered wagon or something. And now it's, I'm smelling teenagers now wearing Old Spice, and I'm going like, that's just not right. You're not old enough to be wearing that. So, things like that is really starting to change the way that we can market and brand ourselves in business. Whew. So how does the internet actually work with regards to all of this marketing stuff? Let's start getting into the real meat of what we're going to be talking about this evening. So I like to really think of the whole internet and the way that we market our businesses in the form of a wagon wheel. At the center of the hub on that wagon wheel is our website. All of our social media sites, whether it's Google Plus or Instagram or our blog, all of this is all driving traffic back to that center hub of our website. That's where we're trying to drive all of this traffic to. So we've got to think of how we can do this better as business owners and marketers to really be able to use this model to be able to drive it in. Because, we're going to be posting on Facebook to say, hey, we've got new content out on our website, or go read this new blog post about this new product that we're coming out with. Or, we're sharing photos of products. So if we're doing an eBay store or something like that, we could be sharing, hey, we've got these great antique whatevers that we're, posting up on your page that you can be driving traffic to. And it's all driving that traffic inward to that. It is a little bit of a two-way street there because, we may bring them in from Facebook to our website, and then we've got great YouTube content there that we might take them back out to YouTube. But again, if we properly brand ourselves and make sure that we're really using those descriptions in YouTube, we can once again drive that traffic back to our website to get another dose of who we are and what we're selling. So kind of keep that in mind when you're looking at your internet concepts of how you're actually doing your marketing. We're really trying to drive it all inward to the hub of our actual website. So what's really the components of internet marketing? So of course, we've got the website at the center of that hub. We've got our social media sites out there. Then we start getting into some of the little bit more technical stuff of the search engine optimization, or SEO. And then we've all, hear about pay-per-click and all of that stuff with the search engine marketing and the pay-per-click advertising that we can do starting now on even some of the social media sites like Facebook, and LinkedIn is big on that. And we could start actually paying to do advertising there. We'll talk about each of these as we go on. And of course, we've got everyone's favorite. I know I enjoy getting spam all the time. Email marketing. What are the good, the bad, and the ugly things that we can do with each one of these components, and either make or break what we're doing with the message that we're trying to put out with our marketing efforts that we're doing. So let's get in and start talking about some of these. Our websites are definitely our branding. We've got to be thinking about usability. And I'm going to talk about some examples of each of these as we get into some of this additional slides here. And of course, content. Nowadays we're hearing all about content. Content is kind of like, real estate marketing with, location, location, location. Well, our website and all of our internet presence, all about content, content, content. That's what we've got to be focusing on here. So let's talk about branding. So here's a great example of a gentleman that I was talking with. And, when we look at this ad that was on the beginning, or this image that was on the homepage of this guy's site, what do we think he's in? We think that he's in, gastric band, this surgery kind of a thing. Would you ever imagine that he was a clinical hypnotherapist? Whew, big words. We would have never imagined that. And I was sitting there talking with him, and I said, well, think about what your customers or your potential customers' first impressions are when they come to your website. If they saw this image, would they get it? They wouldn't. So it was fun because he actually went in and changed this within 2 days so that it then had a nice supportive byline on it talking about what he does. Because he's into thinking that hypnotherapy is an alternative to spending $1 bazillion to get all cut open and have this band put around your stomach, and it's all just a frame of mind of what you can do with that. So he actually went through and did that, and it turned out to be working really nicely for him. Here's another example. Is your message or product clear? So if we're looking at this, learn from the experts. Who can tell me what the product actually is? Well, experts, yeah. Embroidery, yeah. But what does this look like that you're getting for this service that you're paying for? Exactly. You think it's a magazine, maybe a newsletter. Well, we're all wrong. She's actually selling a DVD. It's all about branding. We've got to make sure we're saying the right things.